Hey everyone, welcome back to the neighborhood. Your friendly neighborhood reviewer here, taking a look at yet another IEM, the Whizzer HE01. I started hearing rumors about this thing a few weeks back, and then out of nowhere, Whizzer contacted me and asked if I'd like to give it an honest review. So here we are, the Whizzer HE01. Let's get into it. So this is actually not the first Whizzer product that came into this channel for review. A few months back I took a look at the Whizzer Opera Factory OS1. At that time, there was some confusion about who Whizzer really is. Were they their own company, part of K-Bear, or just the parent company of Opera Factory? Well, it seems to turn out that Whizzer is actually their own brand, and they have been ramping up and producing a number of IEMs as of late. The HE01 is one of these, and it's been catching the attention of many audiophiles, both for its build and for its sound. Let's start out with the build. The shell of the HE01 is a thick, lightweight ABS plastic construction. The shell is on the smaller size, and the nozzle has a nice general angle to it. I think these will fit most people's ears, and do so most comfortably. The driver inside is a single 10.2mm dynamic, consisting of a high magnetic circuit and a metal composite moving coil design. Whizzer claims that this is a 4th gen driver that improves on a sense of sound density and transparency, creating a clear and mellow listening atmosphere. The HE01 is extremely easy to drive, and it could be powered just as easily off of my cell phone as anything else. The cable these come with have angled C-pin connectors, but no ear hooks. The braided and wound OFC cable itself, though, is very soft and supple, so the lack of ear hooks does not result in any discomfort for me. It terminates in a small, but somewhat fat, metal straight 3.5mm connector. There is also a metal chin cinch, which integrates well into a metal Y-split. I really like this cable, but if I had one criticism, it would be for Whizzer to use properly recessed 2-pin connections instead of C-pin connectors on future designs. The box also includes a metal tin carrying case, a cleaning brush, and 2 sets of ear tips, which allow you to tune the IEM in different ways. One of these sets is labeled Reference Tip, and the other is labeled Vocal Tip. To my ear, the included vocal tip sounded better than the reference tip, but ultimately, I abandoned both of these sets in favor of SpinFit CP100 ear tips instead. The HE01 is actually pretty tip dependent, and CP100 tips actually resulted in the most neutral balanced sound, so assume all sound commentary in this review is done with these tips installed. So this is only my speculation, but I think the goal of the HE01 was to create a more neutral reference tuning to start to give Whizzer additional variety in their otherwise mostly V-shaped bass head focused lineup to date. If this was their attempt, I think Whizzer mostly succeeded, producing an earphone that was both relatively neutral to the ear in both its tuning and its timbre. Highs are well accentuated, but tones here are never harsh, strident, or overly accosting. Instead, tones here are extremely unfatiguing and buttery smooth in their delivery. There's not a ton of air here, but the HE01 does possess airy qualities here or there, which do present themselves well when called upon to do so by the track. The mid-range is natural and lifelike, and does not notably sound accentuated nor recessed in any particular area, despite graphs which show slight elevations between 2 and 5K. With that said, rest assured that the mid-range is definitely the star of the show in the HE01. In fact, for a single dynamic driver, its mids are very well articulated and with good micro details. Level of detail is at least on par with other standout sets in the $50 to $100 price range, such as the Shozy Form 1.1, 10 Hi-Fi T4, and Mooddrop's newest iteration of the Aria. And while I wouldn't describe the HE01 as having a mid-forward sound to the ear per se, I would describe it as being mid-centric. Vocals isolate well and rest naturally on top of the rest of the presentation. They are large in their scope at times, with male vocals less accentuated than female counterparts on occasion. But this observation was mostly track dependent and suitable to within appropriate expectations. Like the rest of the mid-range, the HE01's vocal presentation was most pleasing and vocal detailing excellent. The bass is delicate and softly delivered, but takes a definite backseat to the rest of the presentation. In the HE01, it is apparent that the purpose of the bass is mostly to assist with the rest of the mix. And with CP100 SpinFit ear tips installed, the HE01 bass does an excellent job with this. But if you listen to the HE01 with CP100s installed and say, hey, I'd like a bit more low end, then consider the CP145s instead. I enjoyed this tip with the HE01 as well, even though the CP100s would still be my preference between the two. While the sub bass is somewhat slower, softer, and less emphasized in its distribution, the HE01's mid bass and upper bass regions are decently dynamic, fast, punchy, and add to the articulation capabilities of this set. In general, you feel plucks on the strings and strikes on the drum heads without any fatigue or over-accentuation. This results in bass tones which are most natural in their sound. There does appear to be some sub-bass roll-off towards the bottom of the frequency response, but I also felt that the sub-bass presented itself well enough when called upon to do so on a particular track, showing itself when necessary. For example, there was plenty of sub-bass present on the track Gone With by Charli XCX and Christine and the Queens. Soundstage is pretty wide from left to right, although not the absolute widest I've ever heard, but with good peripheral detailing and accurate imaging and tracking from side to side. Depth of the sound field is above average and good for the HE01's price, but this is more of a flatter 2D image than a 3D one. I have an upcoming review of the second generation of Moondrop's Aria, and like Moondrop's own SSR, the HE01 layers less well, but has a much larger stage overall compared to the Aria. So, some stage junkies might prefer the HE01 to the Aria, and vice versa, depending upon their individual preferences here. Layering of instruments and individual note separation are sufficient enough in the HE01, however, and do not hold it back from being somewhat of a neutral reference point in the $50 to $100 price range. So the sound of the Wizzr HE01 won't be for everyone, even if it seems like it's small enough and sufficiently ergonomic to fit them. It is tip dependent in sound quality, but well built and comes with a well presented package for its price. If someone is seeking a neutral reference style earphone under $100, with CP100 SpinFit ear tips, you'll get just that with the Wizzr HE01. And while such a tuning is engaging enough for me, some may find it less than energetic for their tastes. And just a reminder guys, make sure to hit subscribe, like this video, leave some comments, and follow the channel at all its other neighborhood access locations, including Instagram, Twitter, the blog, or become a Patreon. The Patreon is only $1.50 a month and it gets you access to early written reviews from me. And with that, I'm out for now.